An Iridology introduction featuring Ron Logan. Ron Logan has been an active natural health consultant with specialties in iridology, herbology, and reflexology for over 30 years. Today, he is both nationally and internationally recognized for his work in iridology and as a master herbologist. Ron was born in Kansas in 1934. His early training was in herbology. However, in 1975, his desire to learn more led him to the study of iridology under Bernard Jensen in Escondido, California. Ron's expertise in iridology has also taken him overseas to work with renowned iridologists such as Ladine Griffin, the author of Health in the Space Age, Dr. Deck of Heidelberg, Germany, Dr. Donald Bramer, and Dr. John Ray. Today, Ron is considered the top iridologist in the United States. As a public speaker, his audiences are commonly captivated with his knowledge and understanding of the human body and how it reacts to foods and drugs. The information he shares has been proven vital and has been responsible for healing and even saving the lives of countless people in the United States and abroad. His credentials are as follows. Certified iridologist from the National Iridology Association, an herbalist and practitioner of certified reflexology from the International Institute of Reflexology. He is also a Bach flower specialist, Nature's Sunshine herbal specialist, a certified correctional health professional from the Bircher Benner Clinic in Zurich, Switzerland, as well as an ID certified water specialist, herbal theory and practice from the Institute of National Health. The information in this video is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained on or available through this website and video is for general information purposes only. This site, including this YouTube account, as well as Ron Logan, make no representation and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy of information contained on or available through this video and website, and such information is subject to change without notice. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained from or through this lecture with other sources and review all information to make a sole choice of what's best for your health. If you would like more information, you can visit Ron Logan's website at ronlogan.info or listen to Ron live every Wednesday at 12:05 p.m. Central Standard Time on the radio 102.9 FM or 11:40 a.m. You can listen online as well at kcxl.com or on the phone at 213-493-0152.
Of participating in farmers markets and things like this. They go a long ways to get everything except a potato or rutabagas. So we're happily engaged in sitting right in front of one of the greatest feasts that mankind could ever produce, in the health food store. And this dovetails with iridology because the science of nutrition is the queen of the sciences. Iridology is telling you what kind of nutrition you need to be healthy, and what you lack. That's actually what it is. And it started with me back on the farm. Because my granddad rode with Buffalo Bill. He's a tough sucker. And he controlled the stockyards for Kansas City when they were larger than Chicago's. And he knew a lot about animals, a lot. And so when he retired in 1942, during the war, he took us kids down to the farm to run the farm with him. Whoa! We didn't know how hard that was or what we were going to learn. But he taught us things, how to look into animals' eyes, cows, sheep, goats, chickens even, and to see what was wrong with them, see if they had principally worms. If they had parasites, we could see it in the eye. There were signs that showed us they had that. So when I grew up, I wanted to be, he died drinking Pepto-Bismol. He stood there, he was talking to me and telling me about, Buffalo Bill and those guys, and he thought some of those guys were kind of shady characters back then, and he was telling us about their personalities. he started talking about that. He had Pepto-Bismol in his hand. And he was drinking it. He had bottles of these pink bottles, and a whole shed of them filled in the back on the farm there with those, because his stomach always hurt him, so he drank Pepto-Bismol because of the acid, over acid stomach he had. Well, he all of a sudden went, ugh, and he just stiffened, and he died right in front of me. So that affected me all my life.
Wow.
That would.
Yeah, we had to pry his fingers off that Pepto-Bismol bottle. And I went to college. I went to medical school here in Kansas City and become a doctor to find out why that killed him. How can you kill yourself drinking Pepto-Bismol? Can you do it? Yes, you can. That's exactly right. When your stomach, which is an acid, it makes acid in the stomach, and when it runs out of acid, and you make it alkaline in there, you will die within a few minutes. And you'll just solidify. If you're sitting still, they have to break your knees to get you in the casket. Because calcium settles out of solution and you stiffen up and you go immediately into rigor mortis. You have to actually pry your hands off that Pepto-Bismol bottle. See, so, do people know this? No. No, when you witness it, it sticks with you all your life. And you
I
try
thought
to
you
figure
wanted
this
an
out.
alkaline body.
Alkaline, well, of course, this matter of acidity and alkalinity really is germane to iridology. Because when you see a blue eye, and the blue eye is white instead of blue, you know that the nerves in there, 280,000 nerves, come up to your eye in a pattern, you see, through the ciliary ganglia of your brain, from all sections of your body, organizes into a pattern, and thence out of your eye goes, just like an anatomy chart sprayed on your eye. A lot of you guys know foot reflexology. That's an anatomy chart sprayed on your foot. Same with your hands, your ear, your tongue, and your eye, same way. Only in the eye, you're literally looking at the endings of those nerves that go down into that body to that place. So that's really direct. And even Jesus mentioned it in Matthew 6:22 in the Sermon on the Mount. We don't read it, and we read it, we don't know what it says. And generally, we don't apply it. And so he said and Luke was listening, and Luke was a physician. He also mentioned it. He said that the lamp of the body is the eye. And then he told us in the second sentence whether you're looking in or out. In Greek, it reads this way. If the eye is all one way, then the body is sound. You're looking in. You're not looking out. You're looking at your body through the eye. And if it's all one way, there's no breaks or discolorations or lacunas or, you're perfect. Well, none of us are. And so science of iridology is looking for where the imperfection is and seeing whether it's acute, subacute, chronic, or degenerate tissues there, see. And then we know what kind of nutrition that part of the body needs. So you have to be a nutritionist to be a good iridologist. And that isn't easy, because there's a lot of old wives' tales of what they tell each other out there. Yeah, we get that every day. People come in, it's old wives' tales and what they tell each other. That's largely what we think. There's bacon and eggs and toast and jelly and coffee roll and a donut. It's a good diet. Yeah. Throw in a little chocolate, and, you can't lose there. Okay, well, it's more than that. And in fact, we have 750,000 vegetables to eat, and we have 250,000 fruits that are labeled known to man. I'm a registered botanist down at the Botanical Gardens of St. Louis. And we have 1 million things to eat out there. In just the categories of vegetables and fruit. You have to look any farther. They taste like everything from chocolate to ham. Just have at it. God told us to eat it at Genesis 1:29. He did not mention bacon and eggs and toast and jelly and coffee roll and a donut. Pizza, hamburger, fried onion. But that's what we're living on. So we're the only nation that's actually killing ourselves by our diets. And so when you look in other countries, look at their eyes, they're decidedly a little healthier than we are. I've been to India. I've been in 150 countries and islands of the ocean sea, and I look at people everywhere I go, and man, they're healthier than we are. I was in Western China not too long ago, saw millions of little Chinese running around, and they don't eat meat. Nobody eats meat. Meat is well, it's $84 a pound now. And they make $64 a month on the average. Nobody eats it. They can't afford it. So they're eating bok choy and rice. I got a little tired of it after 19 days, but you know, bok choy and rice is what they've got. You never tasted bok choy, go to China. That's all you're going to see in Western China. Bok choy and rice. And you never see a fat person. You never see one with a gut hanging out. You never see one with a hysterectomy. You never see one with breast cancer. You never see one with prostate problems. You don't see this in Western China. Why? Because they don't eat that way to bring on these things. They're eating rice and a vegetable. And it seems to do it. Because about all the nutrients known to man are in those two things. Bok choy and rice. Would you believe? Yes.
I just wanted to know, does that have anything to do with the China study?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't have the China study, and you'll buy it on a rack over there, sometimes they'll have the China study. And I know the doctors that did that, and they hired, the Japanese government was behind this. They studied 335 million people and what they ate, and their diets, and their and what it resulted in their health. And it is the best study ever pulled on nutrition. You need to read it, the China study. And it all drives to this fact: we need to be eating a plant-based diet. Now, that's not bacon and eggs, toast and jelly, and coffee rolling it on. You know, and if you do so, if you have a blue eye, that blue eye will eventually turn sky blue all the way across. And you'll have to carry an aluminum ball bat to beat the opposite sex off. See, so, you know, because you look so good. You know, see, because that's what it will do. And you, of course, there's ramifications to this. You can't just eat one thing or another. There's the fourth law of eating is variety. So we have to eat a variety of things. And that variety you see in good stores like this. A great variety. Things coming in from all around the world. You see it in these stores. Wonderful to have these. We commend them. I'll tell you. We're lucky to have stores like this in our vicinity. But in the iris, you'll see what the history of that person is. Now there's different types of eyes. There's the blue eyes, and there's the brown eyes, and there's the hazel eyes. That's three great categories. And the blue-eyed people die from the skin in, and the brown-eyed people die from the inner skin, that means the bowel, out. And the brown and the hazel-eyed people have a little bit of both. That's about the story. Okay, we can go home now. Okay, so, however, if you look at a blue-eyed person, see like this, you see that dark ring on the edge. See that edge? It's a dark edge. That's their skin. Because the skin surrounds you, see, in the eye chart, that's how your nerves come in there. Your skin encompasses the body. And the edge of the pupil is your stomach lining. That's the center of it. And then comes your stomach, then your colon, and then there's a ring there that encompasses that GI tract. And that ring is composed of the vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S, which means the wanderer. It comes from the word vagabond. This means the wanderer. So out of the 12 cranial nerves that come out of your limbic system that control you almost totally, number 10 is the only one that leaves the central nervous system, comes outside of it, down behind the sternum, breaking apart the solar plexus, a junction box from there, and fingers of him go around the gastrointestinal system, controlling digestion, elimination, assimilation, heart rate, breathing, deglutition, swallowing, hiccuping, hurling, anything's automatic, he controls. He even controls all your glandular functions, turning them on and off, without which you would die pretty quick. So he's a big nerve, the vagus is. And he shows up in the eye as a circular ring about a third of the way out from the pupil toward the edge. Now, it has aberrations in it. You'll see bulges in it. You see strictures. And since this nerve, this big nerve, is on the outside of your bowel, it's in the outlining area of your bowel, then if there's a bulge in your eye, then there's a subsequent bulge in your bowel. It's called a diverticuli, see? And now your bowel is a hostrated sac. It's not smooth. When you take it out, I was in a lot of autopsies back when I was younger, and they're a little messy, but you learn. And you get those bowels out there, they're a muscular sac, see, like this. Now a piece of dead armadillo gets in one of those corners there, and rots and blows it out with gas, you got a diverticuli in your hand, see? It can be full of worms and all kinds of nasty things pretty soon. And it gets black in the eye. The blacker and darker it is, the blacker, darker stuff is in your bowel. You better believe it. Because we cut them open, we see it. And that's what we did in Heidelberg University, where the center of iridology in the world is in Heidelberg University. And I was over there with Dr. Deck, who'd seen 1 million eyes in his life before he died. And I was with him for a while, and we would cut bodies open. If we saw, like, say, black lines coming out of the transverse colon here, which is the top of that ring, and we'd see these black radials, we call them radii solari, and when we knew that the bowel was leaking there. And almost all of us, especially us brown-eyed people, have leaks there. And the transverse colon is subject to a lot of gravity pulling. See, gravity is an enemy. You young punks will find this out when you get a little older. Okay, and gravity pulls down on those transverse colons. And if we eat a lot of meat, which is heavy, and sucks calcium out of your mesentery, you almost always have a prolapsed colon. And down it comes. And it kinks, as it's held here and there, but it kinks in between. Kinky colons, that's what Americans have. Walking bad bowels. Okay, and that's all we are, is a walking gut tube, 28 feet long, with a few things wrapped around to make it look good. So, if it's healthy, then we're pretty healthy. So this ring, this vagus nerve, is very important in the eye. If you've never seen that, I have a 10-power mirror. Afterwards, I'll hold it up to your eye and you can see your own. You see the ascending colon in your right side? There it is. The hepatic flexure. The transverse colon goes on over past your belly button to your left side, which is the splenic flexure. And then down the descending colon goes the sigmoid flexure, which is like an S laying sideways, sigmoid, and then on out it goes. Hemorrhoids look like little black dots down here. You see everything. Just look at the eye. There it is. And see, so if you want to see how your colon lies in your body, well then look at it. Now just recently we had this bodies revealed over the Union Station. Some of you went to see that. That was interesting because they had this guy that they put to death. He's a murderer, and they had him plasticized there. You know, you see all his parts. There he was. I walked in. I was appalled. There was his colon. It didn't even make it up to the spleen, to the hepatic flexure. It immediately dove down like this. It kinked. It was redundant. It didn't even make it over to his splenic side, hardly. And it warped around and went out. See, how did he live with a colon like that? And so I was telling my crew all about it. And the guy there, that was a guard, he said, "Hey, buddy, are you a doctor?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Would you explain all that to all these school kids coming in this bus?" And they, "Oh, okay." So all afternoon I spent there showing how the bowel should look and how it ain't. You know, see. But that's the way we all are. If we ran out of plastic, we see the aberrations in there. Now, I was on the farm. We killed hogs and we scraped. You know, we dressed out goats and pigs and all kinds of, you know, animals. And we would see that the anatomy chart of that animal was exactly what we found in the animal. We cut them open and there it was. The spleen was here. There's all these parts that we have too. Animals have them too. But the anatomy chart just was practically perfect on an animal. But if you go doing an autopsy on a human, you cut them open here to get the transverse colon, it's never there. You dig down there and you find it prolapsed clear to their shoes, sitting on the uterus, squashing it over to the left, mashing the ovaries so tight in the fallopian tubes. Then when the ovum comes out of the left ovary, it has no place to go. Its business is to grow, so it just lays there and grows, and they have a cystic ovary, and it blows up on them, over they go. Okay, now you don't find animals doing this. Just humans. Humans are goofed up in there. You cut them open and their GI tract is all over the place. It's not what it should be. Why is that? Because we have freedom of will. We were given freedom of will. Go back to the Bible, read Genesis. You'll find out why we're goofed up. Eve ate something she shouldn't have eaten. Because it felt good, it looked good, it tasted good. Well, that's not a problem with a horse or a pig. I mean, he eats what he's designed to eat. That's what he does. And if it's not good for him, he spits it back out. And I was in charge of the chicken house on the farm. And a dog is a dog. He'd suck an egg, throw it up, suck an egg, throw it up, suck an egg, throw it up. I'm going to shoot him, save my chicken yard. And not until I was 30 years old did I find out why. Because the white of an egg is indigestible by any mammal on earth. And he couldn't digest the white of the egg. He was going to throw it up, but he wanted the yolk, which is the chicken. He couldn't stand the feathers, which is the white. And I found out when I studied food chemistry at the Heidelberg University in Europe, in Germany, that the white of the egg is really poisonous. Now, no mammal can digest it, and if you can't digest it, it has to ferment, and in the fermentation it releases some nasty things. In this case, indole, skatole, indican, cadaverine, and a couple other nasty things, including hydrogen sulfide gas, the smell of rotten eggs, which you pass in a room full of people who know what you've been eating. The white of an egg. And if you study real food chemistry, which is only taught in Europe, you'll find this out. You don't want to eat the white of the egg because it's indigestible to any mammal on Earth. It's evident. It's a bird protein. And even if you cook it and try to break it down, it congeals you still. It will go down there and ferment using E. coli, staph germs, and yeast spores, and in the fermentation release some powerful poisons that could really bring you down. Do you know this? Did the American Dairy Wheat Meat Council tell you that? No. But I found out that's why a dog throws up when he sucks an egg. He'll eat the yolk, and you can strain him out the yolks. He'll eat them all day, and he'll be satisfied, about 3 of them. You quit sucking eggs. And my grandma, who knew everything, did that. Of course, and it worked. But I didn't know about this till I was 30 years old studying food chemistry in Germany. And then I figured out why the eye changes colors on people. Why in the bowel so often we see black places or white in there, showing an acute situation. Why? Because it's full of poisons. And we have no clue as to how we got them there. And because we are not eating what Genesis 1:29 told Adam and Eve to eat, which was all green things with its seed and all fruit-bearing seed. Period, period, period. There's a period at the end of that sentence. Okay? Now people say, oh, I can just eat fruits, but what can I eat? They weak people, see. Well, we have places in Kansas City where that's what they do. They feed you just all good food. It's just, one of the places, we have representatives right here from, it's Cafe Gratitude. Yeah, Lee and Dave. I love the place. If you've never been down there, go down there. She makes the goodies down there.
She makes her muffins.
Mm-hmm, yes. Yes.
I had this discussion with someone the other day, and then I said, but in the Bible, then later didn't
Yes.
God tell after
He
Noah,
told them they could
then
eat
he said
anything
you
that
eat-
crawls upon the earth.
Right. But
In Genesis 9.
Yeah.
He did. But for several hundreds of years, the first man was vegetarian. Fruitarian, actually. And he lived 950 years.
Right.
Okay. Now the flood came. Okay? The Bible tells you about these things. And the flood, what did it do? Well, it was probably 700 to 1,000 feet of water, they estimate, hanging above there, going around and around the earth. And it fell. And a tremendous quantity of weight hit the earth. And it hit the valley plains, said Psalms. The Psalm says, speaking about the flood, the valley plains descended and the mountains ascended. You see how the tectonic plates work? Weak places in the earth's crust were crushed, and it pushed these high mountains we have today. So that's why the flood was above the highest mountains in the world at the time, because there weren't any high mountains. Until after the flood, when that water settled in the basins and pushed those tectonic plates up, now we have high mountains 28,000 feet. We didn't have them before the flood. So consequently, the flood was over the highest mountains. There weren't any real high mountains back then. After the flood, there were. That changed the topography of the earth, and consequently the climate. So the wind now coming along would hit these mountains, rise suddenly, congeal the water in there, and you'd have a rainforest on the other side. That's what you see in mountains, on the other side of the mountain from the wind. And then, since the air was dry, then for a considerable distance there would be a desert. And not a lot of vegetation would grow. Now in that situation, if men were caught in that situation after the flood, well, there wasn't a lot of vegetation to eat. If that's what he was limited to, it might end it. for him, see. God was interested in us continuing a life, to continue the human race until he straightened things out, until after this trial that the devil put him through, you know, see, to challenge him as who has the right to rule the world, is finished. He gave him a consent to try to prove his point that the world is ruled by selfishness and greed. Well, what man can get out of it instead of filial love to his Creator that gave us all this largesse to keep us alive? Who's right on this? It takes a little time to settle that score. Well, the time is about up, friends. But, you know, that time had to go by. So mankind had to stay alive during this period of time. If he was caught in the desert, what would he do? He could catch the animals with 4 feet. They could range, they could adapt to this desert area and stay alive. And you, with your superior intelligence, could catch the animals and eat them and stay alive. That's one probably the reason why, after the flood, he allowed us then to broaden our diets to eat anything that crawls. But certainly our lifespan dropped. 900, 800, something like this. With just a few generations after the flood, it hit 80. Moses living 120, and then it hit 80. And we're about there now. I'm 80 now. I'm just surprised I'm standing here here talking to you. See, my family died at 50 and 60, but they were Germans. They didn't listen to anything. Died early. So none of my family's left alive. They just croaked. Ate themselves to death, as most Germans will do. And Italians follow right behind, and the Mexicans are way out there ahead. So, you know, they literally eat themselves to death. And so we really don't know that it's the perfect diet is fruits and vegetables. But if we're in a place where we can get all the fruits and vegetables grown in the world, why would we eat anything else?
That's what I'm saying.
That is really, what's the deal? I mean, you know, we really don't need it. And in this book, we have a book here of Iridology, written by Adam Jackson. All iridology is on the same score, it seems like, because we see these things, and we just, we see it in the eye, and we come to this conclusion. It's not something that really teach in our iridology classes, although we allude to it, the fact that we need to eat well and give the general rules for it. But yeah, usually this question of protein comes up, and we find that protein is in everything. Mother's milk is 1% protein, and the baby doubles his weight in 6 months on 1% protein. And on your life, you do not ever need more than 1% protein, because that's all the baby needs. And the baby needs more protein at any time in his life. He's growing fast. And so he gets mother's milk, 1% protein, doubles his weight in 6 months. Could we maintain our weight in 1% protein? If you ate solid fruit, nothing but fruit, fruit averages 1.5 to 2% protein. Babies can live on it, why can't we? Adam and Eve lived on it, why can't we? See, so in here it says, a dead cow or sheep lying in the pasture is recognized as carrion. The same sort of carcass dressed and hung up in a butcher's stall passes as food. Careful microscopic examination may show little or no difference between the fence corner carcass and the butcher's shop carcass. Both are swarming with putrefaction. You know who said that? Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, who invented the Kellogg cereal. Yeah, okay. And here's what A. Nelson, a bacteriologist at the Battle Creek Hospital and Sanatorium there, he said the bacteria in meats are identical in character with those of manure, and more numerous in some meats than in fresh manure. Yeah, okay. Now, Professor Lacey at Leeds University said this: poultry should carry a government health warning. That was his statement, because as salmonella infects 100% of our poultry. Director of Central Public Health Laboratory said that. So, think again before you eat that chicken salad sandwich. See, because they're pulling thousands of tons off the market right now, see, because of contamination. It just got so much, it's going to make you ill. And you can stand so much of it, but 100% teems with harmful organisms and cause millions of food poisoning cases every year. In the New Scientist magazine, that's a statement right quoted out of it. So, people in the main eat meat simply because they were raised on it by their parents and have acquired a taste for it. But just as palates are acquired, so they can be changed. Some may believe that it is perfectly natural and indeed healthy for humans to be carnivorous, and that we need animal protein for our health. But as it will be shown below, the contrary is true. Humans are by nature vegetarians, and meat eating is the major single causative factor in most chronic degenerative diseases. That's just a statement in an iridology book written by Adam Jackson up in Canada. Well, we sooner or later come to this. If you've been an iridologist very long, big meat eaters are sick. They have a lot of problems, especially in their guts, and they're full of bacteria. And their guts have 80% bad bacteria and 20% good. It's just the opposite of what they should have. Why? Because it takes that to handle the carrion that they're eating. That's natural. If you eat the white of an egg, what is it? It's avidin. It's a bird protein that makes feathers. It does not digest, but it ferments. When the Candida yeast contacts it, it ferments it immediately, because you'll get nothing out of it any other way. You have no enzyme in you that will digest it. If it can't digest by clean enzymatic action, then how is it going to be digested? By fermentation. That's the only way it can do it. And the body does that in the big bowel largely with E. coli, staph germs, and yeast spores. Now if you want to grow these yeast spores, if you want to feed them, then eat whites of eggs, because you're going to need them, and they're going to grow. And then they're going to back up through the ileocecal valve when they have a chance, go down in your uterus, into your bladder, into the prostate, swell these things. You're going to have all the problems that everybody else has out there. So my daddy was an idiot, my granddaddy was an idiot, by God I'll be an idiot. Okay, so we learn these things from our parents. We're in a paradigm. And that's how we learn them. You put your pants on with your right foot every morning. Why? Because your mother told you to. That's what you do. Okay, nobody thinks for themselves anymore. Hardly anybody. But we've got to get beyond this, you see. And so the eye will lead you straight. It never lies. So somebody came in, they said, well, just yesterday, I have an acid stomach. That's what I've got. Now fix it for me. Well, what I saw in there was a stomach that was dark. It was dark inside that ring, which is the stomach. If it's dark inside that ring, it means a low acid stomach. They don't have enough to digest the food they're eating, particularly their proteins. So it goes dark in there. What it means? Darkness means underactivity in the eye. Lightness means overactivity. Now some people have a white ring there. That's an overactive stomach. There is such a thing. They have, but more of us are low in the production of hydrochloric acid and pepsin and cholecystectinine and protease and amylase and lipase and peroxidase and oxidase and diastase and cellulase and trypsin and chymotrypsin and all the rest of the 23 enzymes we know about to digest our foods, the different varieties of food. We are low in the production of them. We have wasted it on things that we shouldn't have eaten. So we can't put out enough now. Especially as you get older, you'll find most of us low in the production of hydrochloric acid. So what happens? Why do they burn? Because the stomach with low hydrochloric acid will close at the bottom of the stomach when you eat beef, chicken, fish, eggs, cheese, meat of any kind. That ubiquitous sea cockroach we call shrimp piled high on the top. Anyway, so all of this high protein, you see, is going to be in your stomach for a long time. Trying to break it down into groups of what they call peptide chains. A little 150 units of amino acids. From a 3,000 chain of amino acids, complete protein, down into groups of a little 150. It's going to take a while. That's the stomach's business. Is to use hydrochloric acid and break this terrific protein down into little clumps that the pancreas can polish off down below there. And so he's doing it, and he's going to do it to like a brown eye like me. That meat's going to be in there for 2 hours, cooking in hydrochloric acid, trying to break it down. Trying with might and main, because I don't chew as, all of us don't chew. Dr. Seidenstreicher at University of Georgia took about 50 people with stomach problems and made them chew 70 times everything that they put in their mouths, and he corrected all digestive problems by simply making them chew. Americans are busy. They're going, my wife is Swiss, her folks come from Switzerland, and we go over there, and they said, and her uncle tells me, he leans across the table to me, he said, I understand that Americans eat in their cars. Is that true? I said, yeah, Uncle, I'm afraid so. They sit in their cars and eat. That stunned them. And so their big 50-foot long table there, in a castle we were eating it. And one of them leans over there and said, "Why?" Oh boy, because eating is just, it's not a pleasant exercise. It's just a refueling job, so we good on to make more money or pay our taxes. We've got a king now called Obama, and so we have to pay the king. Okay, well now, and they said, they shook their heads. That's terrible, because they sit there and spend 2 hours every time they sit down to eat. It's at least 2 hours. They talk and chew their food, and eat their goat cheese and their wine, eat their big old cabbages that grow in their yards that big, you know. That's wonderful to be there with them. But they come over here and see our fast food restaurants and see people sitting in their cars and eating. It just makes them aghast. However, that's what we do. And we throw it all in there at once, no matter what kind of food it is, and we have no idea what we're doing. It's just a refuel job. So this is a pitiful thing. So our stomachs are pretty well wasted by the time we're 20 or 30 years old. And so in that ring in the eye, it goes underactive and it goes darker than the rest of the eye. And they'll sit there every time and tell you they have an acid stomach. Well, in fact they do, because what happens is that all that meat, fish, eggs, and cheese lying there trying to digest, that's a big pool of hydrochloric acid. And it takes a couple hours for it to break down into amino acids, you know, so it can pass on out. Unless it breaks down into peptide chains, it's not going to open. It's going to be there until it's digested to a certain amount, see? So, on top of that acid chyme comes the bread, pies, cakes, potatoes, and bananas. They turn into sugar in your mouth. Now, sugar ferments in acid. In medical school, we would make bombs out of acid. We just put sugar in acid. It'd blow up. It'd literally blow up. We made bombs and throw them at each other. It was fun. But anyway, that's what's happening there, see? The sugar's hitting that acid in there, and what's going to happen? It's going to ferment fast. Where's the fermentation going to go? Not that way, because it's closed to the proteins digested. But you put sugar in with it, see? So it's going to come back. It's the only way it can come. So it pushes that stomach against that cardiac valve where the esophagus goes in, splits it into a hiatal hernia, burns your esophagus out, and eats your teeth out. You think, you got an acid stomach, I'm going to go get some Nexium and Prilosec from my doctor, see? You don't have an acid stomach. You had too little acid, because you didn't have enough to get it out of there fast enough. So when the sugar came down, it was closed. It's going to be closed for a long time because you don't have enough hydrochloric acid. If you took something like PDA, protein digestivate, which is on the shelves of health food stores, it's hydrochloric acid and pepsin. It's what it is. And you take that and you speed this whole thing along, you get relief by putting acid in there. Hydrochloric acid is what it needs. And if you put cholecystectin, protease, and amylase, and lipase, peroxidase, and oxidase, and diastase, cellulase, trypsin, chymotrypsin, all this in with it, you digest anything yay. You feel so good, you have carolina and ball bat to beat the women off. Okay, now that's the stomach tail. You know, you see a lot in the stomach. Little cracks that break through the edge of the pupil is an ulcer. And you see where it is, the top of the stomach, the bottom of the stomach, the front of the stomach. You see where it is. You see how bad it is. Before any doctor with an endoscope to ram it down your throat and make you bleed and take cameras down there to take pictures of it to prove you have one, you've got one in your eye. See, that's why Jesus said the lamp of the body is the eye. It's not x-rays. It's not tubes rammed down you. It's not needles taking parts out of you to study in a microscope. It's your eye. And now, if you look at that eye and you see things, you can't see everything. You can't see pain because that's subjective. Pain is subjective. Some people feel pain more than others. Men are wimps. They're really pussies. They can't take pain, but you know, the women can because they have babies. Anyway, so pain is subjective. Some people feel it more than others. And there's a type of person called a neurogenic that just blows my mind. Now, I have iridology classes. We had 40 in the last class. And I want to know how many neurogenics we have. A neurogenic is one that has more nerves than anybody in the room. So, I had a heavy light, and I dropped it in my lodge where we have our classes on a wooden floor while they were taking a test. And I dropped it on the floor and went bang. 14 women went Those were the neurogenic. The others continued to ride. Something hit the floor. Okay. So after it quieted down, I dropped it again. Bang! Same 14 people. Okay, will you quit that? The noise is astounding. We can't concentrate. How can we take a test with all that going on? That's a neurogenic. Okay, now some of you guys are neurogenic. And those people feel everything. They hear everything acutely. Everything's magnified to them compared with somebody who isn't that way. So you see, we're all different. Some of you guys are really different. Okay, but the neurogenic, you can tell, but because it's so fine. He's got such a fine eye, it looks like silk in there.
What is the element of fineness? Which?
Well, it's the stroma of the nerves. Now you can actually see the nerve cables coming in there in a blue eye. And those nerve cables has hundreds of nerves coming in there. And they come in, and the outside ring here, they come in there, that's the sympathetic nervous system nerves. And they tie in this in blue bundles on that vagus nerve and pull outwardly with the tension. And you don't notice this because you don't look at your eye that close. But inside that ring, the parasympathetic nervous system works on emotion, you know. And from the deep limbic system of your brain, they come in there in little bundles and they pull inwardly with the tension. So the parasympathetic nerves are inside this ring and the sympathetic on the outside of the ring. So this vagus nerve serves as an autonomic nervous wreath. In other words, these two large halves of your autonomic nervous system is pulling against each other. Now, since health is just a balance, if you're balanced between these two halves of your nervous system, then this ring out here will be a third of the way out to the iris edge, nice and round and blue or brown, and you're perfect. No, you never see that. And so our job is to see where it isn't perfect. And so you'll see some people have breaks in it. And they tell me they have MS. No kidding. What is that? It's a break in their nervous system. The nerve flow from their brain is not getting to that group of muscles they direct it to. The question is, why? Why? You always ask, why? Then medical doctors never do. They don't care. Yeah, they're just busy giving you drugs. See, now just recently, just a couple of days ago, up here at the Riverside Post Office, a lady, 75 years old, on drugs, drove through the post office. You ought to see it. Cracked the whole building. Man, he'd like to destroy the post office up here. It's a brick building. I said, was she a little fuzzy? Oh, yeah, she was on drugs. Doctor drugs? Oh, yeah. And there you go. She mistook the foot feed for a break. Bam, right to the post office she went. Okay, so, you know, people like that are out here driving. For God's sake, you know. And right on the little sheet they give you with that drug says, do not operate heavy machinery. What do you think a car is? And all your high blood pressure medicines. Do not operate heavy machinery. Practically every man over 40 is on high blood pressure medicine. He's driving out here. It's the whole place looks like Johnson County now. They're idiots. They're just, you know, that's on marijuana. It's worse. And these drugs inhibit nerve transmission. They play havoc with it. And I was just showing somebody here, Dr. Jensen, his Iridology book here. And he, where was it? And he showed well, I don't know if I can find it, that here. But it showed the spider spinning a web. It was on coffee, caffeine. It's irregular. Man, he couldn't hardly do it. It showed him on benzodiazepines. Wow, that is really nasty. And see, and you put these things in a spider, he can't spin his web. You put it in a person, he can't operate right. And so, you know, what we're after in iridology is get them off of these things and teach them what nutrition they're lacking, because it's all back to nutrition. Why do they have high blood pressure? Why do they have pain in their bodies? They all come in. I just gave a lecture at the Fibromyalgia Support Society. Guess who was in the audience? 400 women. Any men here? 2. There were 2. Why? Because men don't feel anything. Yeah, see now. I represent. 2 men. Okay. All of them. Women. I said, is this a woman's disease? And you look in the eye, do you see fibromyalgia? Well, no, but you see acuteness. Not cuteness, but acuteness. Acuteness. You see a lot of light-colored whiteness in their eye. Because the nerves are going, whoa, like this. I'm hurting down there. That nerve says I'm overactive. Something's injuring me. I'm acid. Okay, acids burn, they hurt. And so they're an acid organism. That's why they hurt. So they're there to find out why. But the doctors won't tell them. All they give them is ibuprofens and Advils and, and Oxycontins and on down the line. Will kill your pain. But do they ask why? What is this, all this? No, because the money keeps rolling in as long as they keep coming back. And the painkillers will wear off pretty soon, and they all don't work very good anyway, so, but they're beside themselves because all this pain in their bodies. But now, when you read an eye, when you have a consultation with somebody, and I do this all day, and the lady just left, she was in there 4 hours because she had a lot of problems. In the books, it tells you can't do an iridology reading with less than 2. A healthy person, you got to tell them why they're healthy, what they're doing right. It takes 2 hours. If they're sick, and this lady, oh man, every movable part was out of her. They had removed her tonsils and her spleen and her adenoids, and her appendix was gone. And, a lot of women like her go to the doctor and say, take anything. Yes, just take anything, maybe I'll feel better. I say, so they do. They whack them unmercifully, And there I looked at her, you have a weak knee, honey. It's really weak. Does it give way? She said, well, it's made out of titanium. It doesn't give way. Okay. Well, that's all I could see in the eye. There was a hole there. See? I couldn't tell it was titanium now. It's just a weak area in the eye. And it really showed up. She was really surprised to see it. She said, the doctor wants to do my other knee. I said, there's nothing wrong with the other knee, honey. He just wants your money. Nothing wrong with it. I showed it to her. She had one weak knee, and that's a titanium knee now. And it tickles me, or just appalls me, that they think that metal on metal is better than bone on bone. You can regrow bone, you can't regrow metal. See, and we can regrow anything now. With the nutrients, information we have today, we can regrow anything. Just me, I'm not built that good. I'm a 6 on a scale of 10, okay? Because I was born during Depression. I've been depressed ever since. Anyway, but you get out of this, okay? There's certain things that were, I wore glasses for 10 years. I don't know, since I was 10 years. For about 70 years, wore glasses. And I found out that you can regrow your eyes with stem cells. If you get the stem cells out there, they regrow. I found out how to do it, so I threw my glasses away within a month and a half. Couldn't wear them anymore. That was 6 years ago. I got 20/20s now. And so I don't have to wear glasses to see other people's eyes. And they're tiny. They're little. I see the tiniest little things now. And see, I'm going to be that way the rest of my life. Because I know about the nutrients it takes to rebuild your eyes and keep them clear. And so, now, these, like for instance, it takes more time than a lot of ADD people have. See, my wife, she's she's ADD. She's ADHD. See, she doesn't stay around. Boom, bam, bam. Okay, she's all over the place like cow poop. Anyway, so now she paces even when she's on the phone. That's
Oh, that sounds like him.
yeah. That's like an ADD person. Okay, ADHD. They can't focus. They can't. Okay, well, they say, and they come in and they say, it's going to take 2 hours to do this. I said, if you want to know all about your body. There's 92 systems here, and I can't even name them in 2 hours, hardly. And let alone tell you whether it's acute, subacute, chronic, or degenerate, and how it all fits together. It's going to take a while. Well, I can't remember that. I record it. You can play it back during dark, stormy nights. Yeah. And Halloween, we'll go over here to Garnish and use that place.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so, but I record it, so you can play it back, because it's a lot of information in that eye. But I'm required to tell you all I can see and tell you what to do for it. Now, see, they say, well, just tell me what to do for my fibromyalgia. Well, okay, what you can do for it is sit here and listen to how it got there. Oh, okay. All right. Well, ADD, it takes a long time because it's all interlocked. See, the body may be white. If that eye is white there, see, that means the whole body is acid. And the nerves are just going like this, you see. The whole body hurts. It's like the guy went to the doctor, he said, it hurts when I touch my foot, it hurts when I touch my head, it hurts when I touch my finger. Oh, what's wrong, doctor? I said, well, you got a broken finger. Well, see, that would be easy, but usually not, you know. Everywhere you touch them, there's 18 pressure points, and you press on them at, say, 5 pounds of pressure. They go, ow, 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 ow. Oh, they got 12 of them. And you get 12 ows, they got fibromyalgia. All right, you can diagnose that easy. They hurt all over. That's simple, but what caused it? Well, when you see these places where you press, and they're white in there, that means it's acute, overactive. The tissues are delicate. They are hurting, and they're vibrating at a terrific rate. And that nerve on the eye is coming up there, vibrating off the color layer of the eye. It's white. It has no color. So you know that these white-eyed people all have fibromyalgia. They don't have to tell you. You see that. And some of them don't feel it, because there's difference in this. See, pain is subjective. They have fibromyalgia, and yet they don't. See, they have that layer, that amount of acid in their body, to where a person that is cognizant, or his nervous system is so arranged that he feels it, will just scream in pain, but he's turned it off. His brain up here just shut it off. He doesn't feel it anymore. But he's still in the same situation. So I got to describe it to him. They're acid. Why are they acid? They ate it. You can't get alkaline by eating acid. That's chemically impossible. And all animal products, wheat, oats, and sugar, are acid. Now, there you go. I just named a 79% of America's diet. Okay, so they're walking around acid heads. They don't know what's caused it because they're eating what their parents did. And they're dying just like their parents did, too, see? With tubes sticking out of them, the doctor's slobbering over them, and in debt so far the kids can't pay it off. So, and I had a lady in there, 67 years old the other day, 6 kids, 5 have died. The one kid left will not straighten up. He's going to die before she does. All 6 kids die before she does. Oh, isn't that terrible? I'm telling you, she's depressed. I would be too. And the AMA has commented on it. It's the first generation in history to die before their parents. Isn't that sad? That tells you the state of eating in the United States. We are eating ourselves to death. And so, now, when you see that acid in there, what causes it? Well, several factors. One, their skin. They're wearing clothes. Adam and Eve didn't. We are meant to run naked on the beach in Hawaii. That's what we're meant for. We are not doing this. And we have clothes together. So we're not getting our asses out. You see, nylon and rayon acid doesn't let anything come out. And we didn't brush our skin for the last 30 years. We have got a dead layer of corneal skin on it like that. And the eye has a black ring around it. Almost every blue-eyed person, especially the redheads, are the worst. You'll see that black ring around the eye. What is that? Dead skin and inch deep. The corneal layer will not let their asses out. You should exude 2 pounds of acid through your skin in a day. That's normal. In insensible perspiration. Can you do it? No redhead in here can. And the blondes are next. See? In fine pores. They make good models. They zero on their face. Look. No pores. Revlon. Revlon didn't do this. This is genetic. This is genetic deep. Redheads have the finest pores. The blondes are next. The brown-eyed people next. And you'll find that the brown-eyed people frequently do not have that black ring there. Their skin exudes. They can sweat easily. They have bigger pores. That's why you find them south of the border. And see, this happened back in Genesis, the 9th chapter, 10th chapter. It tells you where people went from the flood. When they were there at Babylon, all mankind was there, spoke one language. God confused their language. What did they do? They split up. Where'd they go? Why did they go there? They went according to their pores. How big were their pores? The brown-eyed people could sweat all over the place and get rid of their acids quickly. They could just put loincloths on, went down to Africa. They were happy with this heat. And but the Germans and the Italians, well, and on north of there, the Swedish people, terrible, really fine pores. The redheads and the blondes went north. Why? Because when the acid drove to their skin and couldn't get out, they couldn't sweat, And it was hot down there in Babylon. They can't take heat. When the acids don't get out fast enough through the skin, they will go to your inner skin, the mucosa of your GI tract, and you will puke it up. And you get sick when you get hot. So they went north to keep cool. And they put 8 layers of clothes on, call themselves Swedes. Okay? And the finest pores were those of the redheads. So they found the coolest, wettest, dampest island they could find to keep their old dry skin feeling better, and they went to Ireland. And that's where the Irish are, and they're redheaded people there. You see where they went? Because the size of the pores separated the races. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Genesis 10 tells you that.
Wow.
And that's what we see in the eye. We see that the redheads have the blackest, deepest black ring around their eye, and the brown-eyed people don't. And of course the blondes are in between. Okay, there you have it. And so what do? Well, when you hurt and you have a lot of acid in you, and 2 pounds of waste is not coming out to your skin a day, not even 2 ounces, you're holding it in. If you just stick, say, about 1.5 pounds of acid in your body at a time, how long would it go before you hurt? In fact, they painted this little girl, remember, she was 12 years old, and they put her on a Rose Bowl parade float. She sprayed her with a silver paint, made little wings on her, put her on a Rose Bowl parade float. She died in 20 minutes. And they made a law in California immediately, you can't do that anymore. You cannot spray somebody and close their pores, you will kill them. They have 20 minutes. That's how important that black ring is. So in my classes I teach that that is one of the first signs of death that you see in the eye, is that black ring around a blue eye. If it's total black and there's no opening in it, you will die. And that's something. There's 4 other signs of death in the eye. And they're interesting too. The brown-eyed people, of course, their problem is inside. It's that inner skin in here. And when you see that black and leaking all over the place, then they die. When you cannot see the vagus nerve anymore because of the trash that's collected around it, then they die. And so we were just over, I took the wife over to St. Luke's the other night. We was rescuing some people over there. Got to get some buddies out of there. There's 400 people laying there dying of H1N1 virus, and they don't have anything to kill the bugs they have today. So I went over there, took the respirators off of them, threw stuff in there, and get them out of there in 25 hours. I had to rescue some of them. We can't rescue all of them. But we went in there and I said, honey, don't touch the doors. Open them with your elbows. Stay right with me here. Well, I want out of here. Anyway, so we got in there, and I asked the head nurse, well, she was in there with the monitor, you know, an ICU. It's intensive watching. It's not intensive care. There's no care there. It's intensive watching. They have a monitor there. And when it flatlines, they go over and fold your hands over your chest and ask what religion you were. Anyway, so that's about it. And that's intensive care today. See, now, in there, I asked Eleanor, who's the head, she remembered me from years ago. It's an old head nurse. And I said, Eleanor, what are they dying of? What do you put on the death certificate? What is it they're largely dying of? Oh, she said sepsis. All of them are dying of sepsis. Sepsis. Yeah. It is a toxic condition that flows from a central point of infection, usually the bowel. That's how it's defined. Sepsis. They're dying of sepsis. They're laying in there dying because they're not clean. You know, see, that's it. A septic tank is a tank in which continuously flowing sewage is being broken down by bacteria. You're a walking septic tank. That's what you are. If you don't clean it every now and then, you die. You know, it's just like a septic tank blowing up because of the gases and everything in there. You are septic. That's what they're dying of over here in KU. That's what they put on the sheet when they die, see. Okay, and I said, Eleanor, you remember when KU Medical Center was just a little stone building there on Road Boulevard? Oh yeah, she said. And I said, remember, you go in there and there was these little, about 20 little rooms. And in these rooms they had a colonic machine, every one of them. And a nurse in there to operate the colonic machine. And in case you don't know what a colonic is, it's a 1,000-gallon enema. Okay, so you went in there and they gave you an enema if you were sick. And you got up, felt pretty good. You walked out the other door, signed your claim. That's how it worked back then, 1938, 39. Now, penicillin was discovered, and now they figured, well, they just lay them in it, don't have to do all this dirty job of cleaning the septic tank up. So now, what we have to do is just give them penicillin, kill the bugs that live on that. Uh-oh, now we had to build another story. And it covers 5 square city blocks now, it's 10 stories high, see? A Blue Cross downtown Hilton, because they don't handle their sepsis anymore, see? But we see it in the eye, the darker it gets inside here in your septic tank, the worse you are. And when it gets so dark and brown-eyed people that you can't see the vagus nerve anymore, that's one of the 5 signs of death. Your inner skin now is overwhelmed. The outer skin of the light-complected people, they die that way, and the inner skin on us brown-eyed people. We all die the same way, either from the inner skin out or from the outer skin in. And so you'll see that very well in the eye. And of course, on the way, in between, we have a lot of other things. We have 92 systems in there. And so, we concentrate on that stomach and the colon first, because once you clean that up, everything else falls into place practically. Unless you just have some genetic weaknesses. And your genetic weaknesses show up as lacunas. They're lakes in Latin. You can see these lacunas. They're surrounded by a white ring, usually like this. They look like a diamond. That's a genetic weakness or a completed disease process. Now, it's interesting to see your eye. They have these eye charts. By the way, they're in China, Russia. In Russian universities, they teach this. In the China universities, everywhere around the world, they teach iridology. And they in the schools, they do this. Here, no. Because we have a heavy hand of pharmaceutical companies that don't want you to know about your body. They just want you to know that you need drugs. Yes, because there's where the money is. We need to live in 3-story houses on Ward Parkway and drive Beamers and go to Bermuda on our vacation. So, but it's really a simple thing to eat a person out of trouble if you just will. And so we give him the step-by-step way to do it too, see. Now, here's certain things you have to watch. Some things, oh, by the way, I might show you this. This is the most important place, you might say, outside the bowel, is your brain. So here's a little chart on your brain. What's left of it? Okay, now, blondes don't need one. See? So they can be excluded from this. But now in the brain, you have different areas up here that coincide with the parts of your brain and the functions of them. The function of the brain is elucidated by Dr. Jensen in those areas of the brain area, which is the top 1/6 of your eye. A very important place. And so up there is the amygdala, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus is straight up, it's 12 o'clock. Your sinuses, just back of your sinus is your pituitary, just right back of your forehead here. And so these, there are certain placements of these areas in the brain, but the brain's so odd, it's a hologram. So Dr. Jensen figured out, when he saw these things, these darknesses up in the eye, and how these psychological things happen to people, he put them together. And sometimes not psychological, rather physical. A gal was in there this afternoon, and she didn't speak much. She wasn't communicating. She wouldn't offer any, ideas or describe what her problems or anything. I just had to figure it out. And she was the one with the metal knee. I said, your knee is weak. No, it isn't. It's metal. Okay, well, anyway, so, of course, you don't know that in the eye. You just see a weakness there, see? Well, and so we finally figured it out, but she wouldn't communicate, see? And so she had a darkness in her eye. It was over here. And it was acquired mental speech area. I said, let's see now. Since that area of the brain controls writing, you're actually speaking, you're spelling as you write, and you're speaking in your brain. And so this area of the brain controls your hand as you write. And this cursive writing takes a lot of round pattern, which our joint is not meant for. Whoever made doorknobs is an idiot. All over the world you have levers. like this. This is the way your wrist goes. It doesn't go, you know. Okay, see? And that's all over the world you have this. But Americans are medieval. They have doorknobs. Watch a rheumatoid arthritic try to open a doorknob. Okay, well, it's levers. Levers is what they have all over Europe, and you'll see that all over the world. Levers. Okay, but in cursive writing, this has to be done. That takes a lot of energy out of this part of the brain. This lady had a darkness in there. It's just toxins coming from her bowel going up there. And I said, is your writing pitiful? Oh, yes. I said, in other words, your cursive writing's lousy, so you print. Yeah, how'd you know that? It's your brain up here. This is the part of the brain that's underactive. So she starts out writing cursive, but winds up with printing because she can't read her cursive writing. And she's had that trouble all her life and doesn't know why. Because the brain shows that the bowel here had a dip in it, a kink. Food waste was being held in the kink, fermenting. It was creating undigested protein acids. They were going right into their mesentery and thence into that part of the brain. Can any doctor put that together?
No.
They haven't been able to. They haven't been able to tell her what's wrong with her. When she got up, she hugged me. I didn't know what she thought about this because she didn't say anything. She has a weakness in that part of the communication, see? I see the tears in her eyes. She finally found out why she's like she is, you know? And so this is marvelous. A lot of work has been done. And when Dr. Jensen was dying, he called me. He said, Logan, keep studying that brain. We don't know enough about it. Don't mess with blondes, but just study other people's brains. Okay? I didn't say that. But we figured it out. And since you have everything. Now let me read the sections of the brain up here. Mental ability. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, that's forehead right there. Acquired mental speech area. Okay. Blood pressure. Your pressure systems in the body. 5 sense area. I had a person yesterday couldn't smell or taste anything. Wonder what was wrong. The doctor's done all kinds of tests on it, giving him all kinds of drugs. Nothing works. It all makes him worse. You see that big black line coming from his bowel right up in his 5 sense area, wiping out his ability to taste and hear and smell. You know, everything was down. His wife could not make it out. There it was. And now the top one, right in the middle, that's your hypothalamus. Animation life area. If you look in an eye and you see a big black line going up there, which you see in about everybody over 40, that's called the TARD line. T-A-R-D, TARD, in southern Missouri for tired. They're all tired. See, because that right up there, yeah, that is the energy regulator, your switchboard between your mind and your body, your hypothalamus. And if it's toxic, guess what? You go down. You can't get out of bed in the morning. Now, I've watched this over the many years. In 1955, I realized what this was because this book was given to me by by a nurse on the 4th floor Baptist Memorial Hospital, and I read it. I said, my God, there's a science to this. I was looking in people's eyes trying to make out what I could from knowing animals, and of course we're just animals. My wife says that. But anyway, that was really eye-opener to me. So I went out to Dr. Jensen, spent 3 years with him out there studying iridology with him. But this line here, I could see it in my buddies that I graduated from school with. And I've been a doctor all my life, either a medical or a naturopath. And so these people have been coming to me ever since, the people I graduated with. And their kids were brought to me, and their kids were brought to me, and now the 4th generation are bringing their kids to me. And I see as they get older, these guys on the football team, on the swimming team with me, you know, I saw this coming into their eyes at the time they were 30 or 40. This black line going straight up. And I read about it, the tired line. This is the hypothalamus getting toxic. And I tell them about it. But now as time went along, this get darker, darker, deeper and deeper. And these guys then pretty well, by the time they were 60 or 70, it split open into a furrow, we call it. It fell to the bottom of their iris, to the basal layer of the iris. And then it just, you pick their lid up and you see this big wedge up there. Wow-wee. And pretty soon they were just too tired to breathe. And they died. And all my buddies are dead now. I went to school with. Practically all of them are dead. I'm 81. And so, you know, and that, I watched this as time went along. So now we know what this is. This is really abject tiredness is coming on. It's the hardest place to get nutrients, and it's the highest place in your body, and gravity pulls the hardest from that spot, trying to get you down. That's why you need your rest every night. You need your head down. If you don't, pretty soon you'll be in a rest home. They'll give you some rest. They wipe your nose, read books to you, and run you around in wheelchairs. Of course, you get some rest, but you can't find your left hand. Now, and you'll see that in these poor people, this big black line going straight up, the tired line. It's called animation life. That's its name. Yes.
So when you diagnose people and to reverse them, do you do it through diet then?
Yeah. A lot of different things. Like, for instance, this transverse colon is always prolapse on people. We see that prolapse colon in everybody. Everybody has a prolapse colon today, especially the women, because they don't hold together very well either. Anyway, their muscle structure a little looser than men's. And so when they eat, bacon and eggs and toast and jelly and coffee roll and the donut, okay, the acids, of course, and all that heavy protein they eat, hurts their kidney on the way out, because you can't use over an ounce of protein in a day. That's the limit for a woman. It's 29 grams of protein. They're eating 5, 10, 15, 20 times this, in some cases 50 times that amount of protein in a day. And that excess protein, over 1 ounce, goes out through the kidney, ripping and tearing the nephrons on the way out. The kidney doesn't like it. He pulls calcium out of the mesentery to chelate it, wrap it over, make a stone out of it, smooth over the edges of this nitrogen in that animal protein so it won't tear him up so bad, to get it through without hurting so bad. That's the purpose of a kidney stone. Everything your body does is for a purpose. A kidney stone was because you ate too much meat, too much animal protein. And now the kidney has to protect itself by pulling calcium out of your mesentery and making a ball out of it so it won't tear him up so much with sharp edges of nitrogen. Because protein is nitrogen. It doesn't burn. It's a building block. You have too many going in you. So now when that happens, that loss of calcium up here that the kidney takes drops the colon. Because calcium, the nitrate, holds you up there where it belongs. So everybody's colon, which should be up there, going from the hepatic to the splenic flexure, it's sagging down. It's squashing our uteruses. It's mashing our prostates. It's swelling things. It's causing all kinds of pooches to come out here. We wonder where that comes from. It's too much protein. You don't see this in countries where they don't have it. And like in India, where everybody's Hindu, they don't eat meat. They don't touch an animal. Look at them. They don't have guts hanging out there. Anyway, so everybody has a prolapse colon in America because it's subsidized by our taxes. The meat industry is. And they subsidize the medical colleges with their grants. So if they tell you not to eat it, the whole house of cards collapses. And our finances are in the dirt below Guatemala, so it's going anyway. So, there you go. They're never going to tell you over the media, quit eating this stuff. You're going to have to come to that conclusion yourself by your prolapse colon sitting out here, okay? Now when it falls down, it kinks and things slow down there. And would you believe that the mesentery of the transverse colon feeds your brain directly? The little capillaries that come off that prolapse colon go to these specific areas of your brain. So when you see people that have, say, seizures, right next to your medulla, right up here, on the left side, there is the equilibrium, dizzy, seizure center. Would you believe that we get a lot of kids out of seizures? One little girl had seizures. I had about 15 of them a day, could not go to school. Dilantin, phenobarbital was going there by the pound. And she was slobbering in her lap, and her IQ was making a nosedive. The poor little girl was just a zombie. And her mother was crying in my office. I gave him, of course, I told her about this problem with her bowel. We inverted her, pulled her colon back up, and made her get on the slant board every night with your fingers in there to pull this colon up, do leg lifts, gave her some anti-seizure herbs, and she never had another one. She ran off to the doctor and said, why don't you use this anti-seizure stuff here that Ron Logan gave me? This stops seizures. He said, oh, who's that? Well, I was arrested, thrown in jail. I've been arrested 4 times. What? For practicing medicine without a license. Yeah? You do not go to your doctor and tell him what you had done. That you don't do. And of course, these poor little women think that it's a benign situation out here, that they're friends. And maybe they'll change if they learn. Really. Now, really. I just got hit by a car in December. And a lady, well, it was a girl. She had no frontal lobe yet. She was only 19. And she was driving on the ice. And I heard a car sliding, and I'm standing out next to my car. And here come a Chevy, 30 miles an hour sideways. That's not what a Chevy does. So anyway, so I knew it was going to hit me. So I jumped in the air so I wouldn't be hurt too bad. And it hit me, knocked me about 20 yards in my yard. And then it slid up against the tree, knocked over my mailbox down there. What tore my meniscus? It hit my left knee and crunch, and there it went. Anyway, ooh, that was pain. So I rolled around the snow a little bit and hollered. The girl wasn't getting out. And so I crawled over there and she was in shock. So I drug her in the house and got the shock out of her. Her pupils went down and she told me her name. And we got her dad there and he got the car and everything. So I had to start this insurance deal. So what do? You go to the doctor, don't you? In order to get the insurance rolling. So this is a car wreck. So I went to up here to 64th Street where there's a clinic, a family clinic. It's all DOs. Doctors of, osteopathy. And they're trained in joints. Their forte is joints. And all diseases emanate from the joints. Well, I thought they'd be the best people to go to if I had to go to a doctor. I never go, but you know. So anyway, I went up there and I said, He poked around. I said, it's a torn meniscus. It torn my meniscus. And when it hit me, I could hear it. And they said, well, we have to take an x-ray. I said, x-rays don't show soft tissue. Yeah, I know that. But we have to do it. It's protocol. You have an x-ray machine and you jump behind a lead shield and you x-ray me. Yeah, that's well, we do it. You got to pay for it. Okay, so we did it. Well, they said afterwards, we can't see it. It doesn't show soft tissue. We need to do an MRI scan. You got one of those machines you got to pay for. Okay, all right. And we have to do it. Oh, it's protocol. So downstairs we went, bang, 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 they did that. Okay, you got a torn meniscus. Yeah, I told you that when I walked in. Do you want a shot of cortisone? No. Because it makes you moon-faced, puts a hump on your back, and softens your bones. We know that. I said, okay, don't want that. And they said, well, we got to send you to an orthopedic surgeon now. I said, a surgeon? He said, yeah. Well, he cuts. He doesn't mend anything. He cuts things. Yeah, but it's protocol. You got to go see the orthopedic surgeon. You want a shot of cortisone? No. Now, okay. So off it went. Okay, went over there to North Kansas City Hospital. Waited in a tubercular room there with people hacking and coughing and exchanging drugs for about an hour. Finally got in there. And a couple interns came in, looked at me. They went out. Finally, the orthopedic surgeon came in. He said, looks like the MRI scan, you got a torn meniscus. I said, yeah. You want a shot of cortisone? I said, no. Puts a hump on your back, makes you moon face, and it softens your bones. He said, I know that. And I said, well, we don't have anything else. He said, you know, I can't operate on make it any better. You know that, you're a doctor. I said, yeah, I know. I know you can't do anything about it. He said, you wouldn't take anything if I gave it to you, would you? I said, no. He said, now, you're 80. I doubt if you'll grow it back together, you'll limp the rest of your life. I said, no, I won't. He said, why? Because with nutrition, you can heal it. Well, I don't know about that, he said, you know. So there's no sense in talking about him, so I left. So I went, I got some glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, hyaluronic acid, and devil's claw, okay? All right, these things are what you need to heal tissue with. If you need some collagen, what is collagen? It's lysine and proline tied together with glucose. Glucosamine. That's what it is. Do you know I have shelves of it in a health food store? Glucosamine, there it is. If you take it, it knows where to go. It's collagen, and it has to repair it. And then chondroitin is an analog of that. It's a larger piece. Goes in there. So this tear in my knee that showed up in my left eye closed up, see? Within a month or so, I could jump 3 feet in the air, and I went down and run on the beach in Mexico. Felt a lot better. And today it's okay. But they wanted to know why it isn't swollen. They said, we didn't believe you when you walked in because it's not swollen. When you have a tear like that, you have a swollen knee. And I said, because I take inflammation by the Chinese medicine, you know, that they've been using for 3,000 years. It's better than anything you have. Better than our cortisone? Oh, anything's better than your cortisone. And so, anyway, he said, yeah, I believe that. He said, but we can't use it because it's not protocol, see. It's not protocol, so we can't use that. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I showed him my knee. Well, you're doing pretty good. So that's the end of that. And that cost $4,500. That's why we're sinking, friends. Yeah, the whole country is going under. Because they can't stand that anymore. You see? So, there you go. But in your eye, you can watch the healing. You can actually watch the healing lines come in, this rip in your eye when it happens. That's interesting to see, you know. And as it heals, you know you did it. So it's a real good monitor of your body. And now, here's the glands are just right around that vagus nerve. They butt right into it. Your heart sits right into it because it controls the beat of the heart. The vagus nerve does that. Everything is logical. And so, there you go. The adrenal glands, the prostate, uterus, pancreas, gallbladder, all of them are there. Now, it takes a while to straighten this out on some people. See, because they say, can you just tell me what to do for my fibromyalgia? I just want a quick answer. Okay, that ain't possible. Why? Because it's the acidity of your body that's causing it. Where am I getting my acidity? It's going to take 2 hours to tell you. One, your skin doesn't work. So you're going to be acid even if you eat an alkaline diet. Because your skin controls the pH level of your body. You learn this in medical school. If you don't brush it and take care of it, and don't wear nylon and rayon acetate, stuff like that, then you're sunk. You're going to be acid because you can't get it out fast enough. You need to eliminate at least 2 pounds of waste through your skin in a day. Can you do this with nylon on? No. So you're going to be acid. You got to brush your skin every day before you shower to knock the dead cells off. Billions of them come off with a vegetable bristle brush. They have it hanging in racks at the health food store. Vegetable bristle, not nylon, not rayon, and not boar bristle, too soft. It's a vegetable bristle brush. You'll see them hanging over there. Everyone should have his own, just like a toothbrush, and do that every day if he wants to get this acid out of it. Now, since the skin is controlled by the thyroid controls your outer skin, middle skin, and inner skin. I look up here and I see a big red line in the white of the eye pointing right at the thyroid. What does that tell you? More blood coming in to the thyroid. Why? To bring iodine there. You're told in the 4th grade to take iodine or you will grow up goofy. You were told in the 5th grade at least that. And that in one ear and out the other ear it went, and we don't do it. We need to take iodine. If we live back at 25 miles of the ocean, it's a given. That's one of the nutrients you need to be taking every day. We have good iodine, nascent iodine, sold in health food stores. We get that in there to our temperature until our temperature rises in the morning under the armpit to 97.8. It cannot fall below 97.8 in the morning. Between 97.8 and 98.2 is where that temperature should be in the morning. When that occurs, now your thyroid's okay. But I'll grant you that everybody that has fibromyalgia, that's acid, that's hurting, has a low thyroid because he's acid. And the thyroid controls the skin, and the skin's one of the reasons why they're acid. Okay, and so now, what do you do with the thyroid? Well, that's another whole story. Oh, one of the things you do is throw iodine in there. Maybe it don't work because your pituitary is underactive. Your pituitary has to tell the thyroid what to do. And the pituitary is under the gun because big black lines come out of your transverse colon, going right through the pituitary and right in your blood pressure mechanism, and you know what that does. And many people, you'll see this. So what happens there? Their pituitary is low. So Dr. Harvey Ashmead, that made the trigger for the hydrogen bomb, well, he sat on a stool. I got his back fixed up so he can sit on a stool and teach us. Because these Nobel Prize winning chemists have heads this big. He found out what this hormone is made out of from the pituitary that tells the thyroid to kick in and use the iodine he's got. That's the thyroid stimulating hormone. He found it's made out of hyalin, proline, cysteine, zinc, manganese, B6, boron, a couple other things. We get that in in herbal formulations, and guess what? It rises our pituitary. It gives that pituitary the oomph to make the thyroxine-stimulating hormone, and now he can tell the thyroid what to do with the iodine he's getting, and that's a step some people have to take. See, it takes a while to explain this, all right? And now it still doesn't work in some women because they don't have this enzyme in their muscles called deiodinase to change T4, 4 particles of iodine to 1 of tyrosine, which is the first hormone the thyroid makes, into T3 by taking 1 of those particles of iodine off of there and making the active version of the thyroid hormone, and using this one for disinfection of the human body. But T3 is the thing that works. Now, if you don't have an enzyme in your body anymore from eating cooked food called deiodinase to take 1 of these particles off of there and make T3 out of T4, it's not going to work even now. You took your iodine, you took your your target TS2 that governs the pituitary and helps him. Now it still doesn't work. What do you have to do now? 7-keto. You see it on health food stores, shelves. 7-keto changes T4 into T3. Now, some people have a box within a box within a box here. It's not easy to explain this. So my wife, personally, she has to take iodine. I've got to squeeze her jaws in the morning and squirt it in there because she's a little fuzzy. She's not organized. Okay, well, all right. And then after that, I got to give her this substance to make her target to her pituitary because she doesn't have enough in there to make the thyroxine-stimulating hormone. So we put that in there. And then we put 7-keto in there. And now she can keep up with me. Little young punk. She's only 63. You know, but anyway, so you have to do all 3 on a person like that to get some action. You see how difficult it might be to explain why they have fibromyalgia. Because the thyroid controls the skin. If it doesn't work, you're going to be acid. And if the skin's controlled by the thyroid has to work. Your temperature in the armpit will tell you it isn't. You got to fix him. You got to straighten him out, and then brush the skin, and then eat an alkaline diet and do a few other things. Pet your kidneys, thinking, now it'll come uphill. But it's a ball of wax. Everything's together. You know, you're a hologram. You can't just fix one thing. Cancer is a systemic disease in a local place, and we know that. People, when you take autopsies of people who died in car wrecks, and we had to do it because the insurance company wanted us to do autopsies on people who die in car wrecks, and if they had cancer, a diagnosed cancer, they have brain tumors, whatever, we found that cancer in the left toe, in their earlobes. The cancer was all over their bodies. Don't fool yourself thinking you have breast cancer or a brain tumor or, something. No. It is a systemic disease. You must attack it that way. You must consider all of it, see. If you don't, it will be back. And it will roar back on you, see. You've got to consider all of it. And that isn't easy. So we'll find some people with tumors. There was a doctor who had a tumor. Some of you have seen this, possibly. And if you haven't seen this, you can't see it from back there. Here's a man that had pancreatic cancer. His pancreas is at 7 o'clock. Yeah. At 7 o'clock, you see a big old black hole there, right across his autonomic nervous sheath. It's got a red dot on it, cancer growing on the side of his pancreas. Okay, now, that's pancreatic cancer. That's nasty. And this doctor I told him to go get a CA19 test because he didn't believe he had it. But I told him he did. And so he went down to the oncology department, North Kansas City, and they said, Jim, a CA19 test shows you do have it, and it spread your liver and your spleen, you're a goner. Now we could whack out the foci of it and throw it down a surgical chute, but that doesn't work because it just spreads it. And irrespective of what we tell women, that the less organs they have, the better they will feel, that's not really the case. So we don't want to chop you up because it'll just spread it. So why don't you we could give you chemotherapy and radiate you, but your hair would fall out, your teeth would go, you go down to 79 pounds, you bend over, puke a lot, bleed through the rectum, and then die. You want to do that? Not really, you see. So then go home and die with dignity, because there's no way out of this. Not even Patrick Swayze with all his money could get out of that one. And he didn't. Because he refused to do what I asked him to do. We talked, but he wouldn't stop smoking. The first step you do to get well is stop doing the bad thing. All right, see? And he refused to do it. So he died. We talked. I said, Pat, you're suicidal. Go get a psychiatrist. There's lots of them in Southern California. Everybody's crazy down there, and the psychiatrists just rampant down there. They're festooned with the psychiatrists. So go down there and grab one, and he'll get you out of it. He'll hypnotize you, give you drugs, whatever. Quit smoking, because I won't work with you if you do. Well, I'm not going to stop. So he hung up, and he died, and he looked like he was 98, and, you know, no hair, no teeth, and nobody could recognize him. He died within a few months. Now this guy, though, he took my advice. He came over, lived with me for about 6 weeks, and we took him away from his family, because the family will kill you with pork steak and donuts and pop. They'll literally kill you. And so we had to take him away from all that, because you can't do anything wrong at this point, Jim, and you don't know right from wrong. You're a medical doctor. So now you get over to my place, and my wife juices every morning. Big green juices go in you. Tastes good. And everything bad comes out of you with black salve. We're going to put it on you and pull it out through your skin, because it's so big at this point that if we broke it up inside of you, it would go to your liver and spread you. You'd have liver cancer. That's messy. You'd die that way. Why don't we just put the black salve on there, which the Indians taught us to do, and pull it out? Can we do that? Yeah, we can do it. We do it every day. We have people for 60 years I've been doing it. He says, sounds like it hurts. He says, you got to pay for your sin. I know. He said, okay. So we did it. And all the whining and crying. You ought to hear a man when he's my. And crawling around and praying with him. It was tough. Okay. Anyway, but in 6 weeks he had it all out. And so his eye changed with all that sulfur poisoning. And you see it's a lot better in 6 weeks. And that is closing up. The red dot's gone. His pituitary is better. His adrenal gland's better. His pupil is half the size it was with the same lighting. So he's getting over his hypoglycemia. So I put his feet in a foot spa, which is just a pail of water with a precipitator in there, and it pulls heavy metals out of your feet. And so he kept that up for a year, and his eye turned nice and blue. And that's the way he is today. Nice blue eye with sulfur in his sinuses. You can't get away from this. It comes from the catalytic converters of cars. But see here, he quit eating his Hershey chocolate, which is loaded with sulfur. He quit eating his Sun-made raisins, loaded with sulfur. He quit eating his commercial bread, which has 6 allowable sulfates in it. He quit doing all these bad things, and he started eating good food and coming up here and getting his food out of the health food store. And that's the change in his eye. And now he's making prosthetics for crippled people. Now, if you want to see how this goes, it's kind of nasty, and I don't show this to everybody, but you guys are with it. I'm preaching to the choir here. See, so here's the first 5 days. Here's the next 5 days, and the next 5 days, and the next. And now, right here, he was depressed. He just knew he was going to die, because they always die with pancreatic cancer. Nobody lives through it. But by this time, it's sticking out to 5 inches. And I said, Jim, look at that. We just have to pull draw the fingers of it out there, the roots, and we'll have it. So big chunks fell out of him, and 2.5 pounds of it in formaldehyde, and it healed up without a scar. And he's making prosthetics.
How
for
long
cripples
do you
here.
think he had that?
Oh, he had it for a while.
He did.
Yeah, and for a while, see, for a year, I had holler at him across the street, Jim, do I smell barbecue coming out of your backyard? Yeah, every night. Cut it out. You know that's carcinogens. For God's sake, man, you're a doctor. You know coal tar was the #1 cause of cancer they ever found, and you're doing it. And so I'd warn him. And so he was kind of prepped to listen to me. So, but yes.
Steve Jobs.
Yes.
He's also about him.
Could have got right out of it. But he had too much money. He went to the highfalutin doctors that are going to kill you. Nobody lives through this if you go the medical route. They just don't. And at the same time, Patrick Swayze went to the medical route. He died. He was awful looking at the time he died.
What if you're already taking chemo?
Oh, well, a lot of people do. And we have a newsletter on integrative medicine, how to do this and integrate it.
Uh-huh.
Because there are certain things like pawpaw, you know, pawpaw cell regulator. Pawpaw's a tree that grows around here. And the twig of that tree has ananaceous acetogenins in there. And it stops the ATP from being made in the mitochondria of the cell. When you do that, the cell has no energy to replicate. You stop the cancer, whether you're taking chemotherapy or not. Now in chemotherapy can be pumped out of stem cells. And all cancers are coming from the stem cells. And you can't kill the stem cells. Like in the case of Ted Kennedy's brain tumor. It came on and they went in there and they radiated him and they cut what they could out of him. But what happened? Well, they said, he's in remission. We're going to get it looks like. They always say that. Why? Because they're killing the somatic cells that are easy to kill. But the stem cell, that really was the source of this cancer, has an ability to establish a chemical pump on the wall of the cell. He pumps the chemotherapy back out. You can't kill that stem cell with chemotherapy. And so you have to take away the ATP from that pump. And now the chemotherapy will go in and kill it. So if you take chemotherapy, why not take stem enhance with it, or this pawpaw cell regulator? And pawpaw cell regulator stops it. And it's available.
So what did you
know how
use
to
to
do it.
draw that out?
Oh, well, this is things you don't sell in a health food store. This is, you know, it's nasty. Because you put it on, you make a hole in you, you know.
Yeah.
It's zinc chromate, wheat paste, rosin, and blood root. And yeah, you don't handle that in health food stores. They get, you know.
So you put it topically and it drew the...
Oh, yes, yes. It will draw a brain
So
tumor right through your skull.
You think he was stage 3, stage 4?
4.
Can we
He
see
was?
the-
He's going to die. Yeah, there's no question about that.
How long did it take?
That's 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
That's 6 weeks. And here, well, I have nasty pictures. I don't want to show you all of them. But now, see, now right here is a brain tumor coming out of my tax man. I should have let him die. But, you know, you think the oath of
You
Hippocrates.
should do your taxes
Yeah.
for free now.
I know, yeah, you should. Yeah, but that's right where the Bluetooth hit him. He went to sleep on my couch. I said, Vince, get that off your head. You're radiating your brain. You nut? He says, well, you got to die of something, Logan. You got to die of something. But you want to die, remember, shot by a jealous husband at 123. Purposefully. And so we put it on his head. Now, he went to the medical system, want to cut half his tongue out, make a hole in his head, and just ruin him with radiations. He wouldn't have lived through it. Because he eats meat, he smokes, he does everything bad. He won't be able to live through it. He has no immunity. So he wouldn't live through that regimen. So he came back to me and we put it on his head. Piece of skull fell out. Then the tumor rose up, it fell in my hand, and he was fine. So
It fell in your hand?
yeah. Yeah, well, a piece of skull has to come out first because that's the skull. And so, and this took 5 weeks. 5 weeks to get out of it, you know. So now that is kind of nasty, you know. However, it's possible. All these things are possible, and they're far beyond what the medical system will admit or wants to deal with. You see, so you know, there's ways out of all these things. When you see these things in the eyes, sometimes you can't see them because it's not in your nervous system. It escapes us because it's just compiled by itself there. It's just it's a vegetative cells. They're like a vegetable, you see. And what causes these tumors mostly is mucus. Remember, mucus is your problem. The mucus-forming foods you want to stay away from. That's why you don't drink cow's milk. See that row of hemp milk and rice milk and all these nice milks? My goodness gracious. I mean, they taste so good, it makes me quiver. You know, but don't drink cow's milk. For heaven's sakes, that's just mucus out of the cow. And that mucus goes around a cell, and the cell can't breathe. He can't get oxygen in, he can't get waste out. He has 2 options. 1, die. 2, change his genetic mechanism over to become a plant cell and live on your carbon dioxide and sugar. Now he's vegetating. He will continue to grow, coated with mucus, so that the immune system and the growth hormone can't get in there to control it. You have a tumor on your hands. And what caused that was mucus. Mucus-forming foods. You won't see many of those in here. That's milk, meat, wheat, oats, and sugar. Yes?
What about raw milk?
Raw milk is mucus out of the cow. raw mucus out of the cow. That's what it is.
What about raw
Yeah,
goat's
and
milk?
if you drink it over the age of 4, people in most countries will look at you sideways and think you're a little bad. Because you don't make renin after the age of 4 or 5. Renin is not produced in your stomach. It takes renin to break apart the protein of that milk, and they don't have it after 4 or 5. Chinese never have it, so you never see a Chinaman drinking milk, and they don't have the tumors we have either. Yes.
So that probably goes for kefir too. Same thing for kefir.
Well, kefir is better because it's broken down.
Right.
See, kefir is a better deal.
But
But
is it a
I
ton-
can't eat it. I can't eat those things. I have a radio show on Wednesdays and on Tuesdays, and if I drink anything, milk, cheese, or anything like that, I wouldn't be able to speak.
So it's still really not that good.
I get mucus in your throat. But there are certain good things about it. However, I can't badmouth it because it's a lot better than your straight milk. It's broken down, easier to use.
Right.
In the body. It's just that me, a brown-eyed person, can't do it.
Okay.
Can't do it. Yeah. Any other question? Yes.
What about steel cut oats?
Okay, no matter how you cut it, it's acid. And so, in a demonstration just recently in Cincinnati, we went to Cincinnati to study out the sin in Cincinnati. Well, we had a huge meeting of naturopaths there, 4,000 of us, and this guy had 2 bowls of oats there. And he put water, the same amount of water in both of them, stirred them up. He put enzymes in one, he didn't in the other. And then he talked for about half an hour. And in half an hour, he turned them upside down. And the one with no enzymes, it was just solidified. It was just solid glue. That's all it was. And that's what it does in your body. And so, now the one with the enzymes poured out. So it was digested, see, with the enzymes. He was showing the power of enzymes. But if you don't have them, and over the age of 28, it's doubtful whether you have enough enzyme to do it. And oats and wheat have been ruined, remember. They have been hybridized by Rockefeller 100 years ago. So we haven't seen whole wheat or whole oats yet in our life. We have not seen that. And so the Scientific American has a big article, 8-page article on it, an August issue, and said it is fatal to eat it today. Fatal to eat wheat. Because there is no such thing as whole wheat. Because the germ is gone. And they showed how it's done, see? That Rockefeller removed the germ. And so all that's left is gluten. And they went in there, the University of Maryland, to prove that just a few people were allergic to gluten. It didn't harm us all. When they went down there, they found out it was harming all of us. And it was 100 times, they said, worse than what they thought. And it contacts the villi of the colon, which shrink in the face of it, and coat themselves with mucus. Now you have a coating of glue, called gluten, and you have a coating of mucus. So this is what we get out of people when we clean their bowels. So I was with Jensen for 3 years, and my job was to clean their bowels and hand them over to him so he could build them back up. This is the glue they got out of that we got out of them. See, it's in the books that you have on the market. This is tissue cleansing through bowel management. I was with him when he read this. If you don't throw up, just look at what came out of people. See, this is the glue that comes from wheat. And see, and that is 6 feet long, weighs 8 pounds sometimes. Everybody has it, because when I was a kid, we used to sing the rhyme, oh, cream of wheat is so good to eat that we have it every day. Okay, well, it is nasty. And see, and this is what it does to bowels. It's what the University of Maryland proved it did when they went down with tubes, pipes, and cameras to show how bad a destruction this was. Yes.
Once you've been gluten-free, how long does it take for that to come
repair
out by itself without like a colonic or something?
Oh,
Is it,
you can do it. There's nice cleansers. It's just take a little psyllium now and then. Psyllium swells up 12 times its own size. Stuff comes out of you that different colors you never saw before. And you get a little cascara serrata in there. They have colon cleanse kits even, see. They work great. And you take one every now and then. Not bad. But you can melt this out to simple things like marshmallow and Pepsi. Now, marshmallow is the mallow that grows in the marsh. It's mentioned in the Bible 5 times. And Abraham Lincoln chewed that sweet root when he was a kid. That was their dessert back then in Indiana and Illinois. Well, we have it today in health food stores. Marshmallow. It sticks on the bowel wall, holds the pepsin on there long enough to eat the mucus, and you get strings and balls of mucus come out of you with dead thread worms by the millions. It's just amazing to see. You don't notice, I mean, you know, it's no big blast or anything, but it's easy to do. Yes?
You said the milk forms mucus. How about whey?
Whey is different. It's the alkaline portion of it. We use that for salt. You use whey for salt. We need a substitute for salt. Do not eat salt. Keep it in the garage to kill slugs and rats with, but do not put it on your food. That is nasty stuff. This book was written by Dr. Kritzer in 1925, Health and Freedom Through Self-Knowledge. He was a teacher of Dr. Jensen, who taught me. And then he brought iridology to the United States in 1904. And in this book that he wrote in 1925, he has a chapter in there. It's chapter 9, and in there he says salt, the killer of health and youth. And he says 12 grains will begin to kill your kidneys. 12 to 15 grains, just a little bit. You can hold that in your hand and can't hardly see it. Begins to hurt your kidneys. And then it says 10 times that, which just cover the bottom of a salt shaker, will kill any small animal. A dog or hog or rabbit will paralyze. The animal sinks to the ground as the hindquarters are paralyzed. Then the muscles of the lungs are paralyzed and the victim dies of asphyxia. If this is the result of consumption of salt by animals, is it unreasonable to suppose that if a child was fed on salt-cured meat, salted fish, had a habit of adding salt to everything it partook of, it might be a factor in the causation of poliomyelitis? But of course. And then he forecast the coming of a polio epidemic in the United States that the world will not soon forget. And it will be horrible, and it will be caused this way. The hind legs will paralyze, then the lungs. 1925, friends. Yeah, and in 25 years it came. And I became a medical doctor at that time, and we were putting these poor kids, these salted kids, into iron lungs. And their hind legs were paralyzed, and then their lungs. Exactly as it kills an animal. That's how bad it is. And that's why they started putting skull and crossbones on trucks that haul salt. You do not put it on your food.
Can you put it in scrubs for your body?
Yes.
Okay.
You sniff it up your nose. You gargle with it as a white ring around the perimeter of the eye. That white ring, when we took it out in Heidelberg University and looked at it in a microscope, it was salt, cholesterol, triglycerides, and calcium out of solution. That's what it was. And that sign is a diagnostic sign telling you that you have arteriosclerosis. You have hardening of the arteries, high blood pressure, and all the things that come with it. And that little sign there is in practically everybody over 50. Because we're eating salt. And that hangs in there and hardens the arteries. And now the medical doctors agree that that is a sign for arteriosclerosis. Okay, so, there's not a lot of those signs they agree with us because they don't study it. They don't do the technical work it takes to prove what the eye shows. Yes?
I have a question. I'm backing up just a little bit on cancer.
Yes.
That black sap, is that something that you get from another country or?
I used to make it in a double boiler. But it got too expensive. You got to go down to North Kansas City to the chemical company and get, this zinc chloride. They use it in bombs now. It's hard to get. So I want just a little from my kids' chemistry set. So they give me a pound or two. It got too hard to get. So they make it in Utah. An outfit makes it there that does real well, and we get it for $39. So for $72, this guy got out of cancer.
Jeez.
Yeah, not $72,000. $72. He got out of pancreatic cancer.
And it's just called black sap?
Yeah, black cancer sap. It's been called that for years. Yeah, yeah.
And have you had any patient that has had that process done that passed away, or just an idea of the record of that?
You mean that?
How successful that is?
Oh.
Percentage.
Well, here's the deal. They come to me as the last resort. I'm the last dog they see.
Yeah.
Okay, because they've tried their chemotherapy and their radiation, and it's taken them over, and they're in the 4th stage and almost dead. In many cases, we pull them out, even at that point. But some of them are just beyond help. And this clinic down in Mexico, the Gerson Clinic, the Max Gerson Clinic. Now Max Gerson was quite a genius in his day. He used this black salve, he used a lot of different things, and it's quite a cancer clinic. I was down, last time I was down there, 51 doctors from Europe were down there studying their protocol. Their enemas they give, coffee enemas, and the things they do, you know. It's just wonderful to people. They take care of you, and you leave there usually cured. But Charlotte Gerson, who's in her 90s, called me the other day and says, Ron, just don't send me anybody that's had chemotherapy. Just don't send them. They die on us. They've ruined their immune system. We can't rebuild it fast enough. They die on our hands, and that's against us. We don't like that. He said, just don't send them. I said, Charlotte, that's all we get. Is people that's gone through the medical system because they worship it, you know. They think that's the way to go. And so they go there and ruin their immune system and their whole health, and then we have to rebuild them. That's our job. We don't want them. I had to argue with her for half an hour. She finally says, well, we do what we can, don't we? I said, yes, we can. We're against the devil himself here. You see, the medical system is evil. If you don't believe it, just be in it for a little while. That's why I left it. Well, they kicked me out. But it is evil. And they are, so money is the bottom line, you see. And so that's why one cancer pill costs $136. And they make it for 2.4 cents. 136 bucks. That's a 569,000% markup. Who would do that except somebody that was evil? They're evil. And so if you don't think that, then deal with it. See, and like I did with my stupid knee. I mean, that's the DO. That's the best you got out there. And all they could offer me was a shot of cortisone. Hello. See, so anyway, but that is a problem. And so if you catch them without that, they didn't take chemotherapy or radiate themselves, we get them out of it fast. But we can ameliorate those effects. And I have newsletters to show you how. Like black walnut hulls is good to ameliorate the effect of radiation. And saying it can take care of ROS, radiation species. So there's ways to do it and help them stay alive if they choose that route. We have to do the best we can to the oath of Hippocrates. Yes?
I just had a question on the x-ray deal, you know, not wanting to have that.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you go to the dentist,
I know.
I mean, and it's like, oh, well, let me get this angle,
Yeah.
or that angle.
Let's put your
And
head
I'm
in
like,
there, going right around you.
what do you do? Because, I mean, that seems to, that's just their protocol, you
That's
know,
right.
we need to do the
They
whole
finally
head
told
every
me to
year,
look at
whatever.
again.
Yes.
They probably wouldn't have let them x-ray me.
Right. There's certain dentists, though, that realize, you see, if they don't ask you, how many x-rays have you had? When you reach 3,200 rads of radiation, you've got cancer. It's cumulative. If they don't, like me, I was down there at that family clinic, they didn't ask me how many radiations I had. Did you have a C scan? That's 2,000 x-rays all at once. Oh, you moved. Let's do it again. Okay, see, a mammogram, 540 rads of radiation. When you reach 3,200, that's 8 radiations, 8 mammograms. They gave you a cancer in your breast. Why would you do that? You'd have to have rocks in your head. And the doctor doesn't ask you, how many radiations have you had? Does he ask you that? No. He doesn't care whether you have cancer or not. There's money in their pocket. As he saw, it's really money coming.
Yeah.
Because the big C is a scary thing,
So you just tell them you don't want x-rays?
Yeah, I
They
just
don't
tell them, no
see
way.
a
Look in here, if
cavity,
you can
then-
see a cavity, fine. You can't, fine.
Can't you
Can you-
naturally heal cavities now, too?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
heal cavities. And one of the great ways is to do oil pulling.
Yeah.
Oil pulling, this great stuff. Put 1 drop of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca, 4 of lemon, and you put it in a tablespoon of coconut oil, fractionated, and squish it in your mouth for 20 minutes, and man, you've taken every bug out of your head. Even headaches go away. It whitens your teeth. It's amazing. The Arabs have been doing this for thousands of years. Why don't we get this? Do this oil pulling. 1 of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca, tea tree, and 4 drops of lemon. That's all it takes. And it's so powerful you have to spit it into the trash.
How many times do you do it?
Oh, you can do it every day if you want to. Yeah. If you have headaches, or you have soft gums, you have infection in your teeth, wow. You draw it out of there like you wouldn't believe.
Since we're talking about dentistry,
Yes.
what do you think about root canals?
Dr. Huggins is a friend of mine. He teaches the Huggins Protocol. And so ask him, he was in a big meeting with 3,000 of us here a while back, and they asked him, what do you do with root canals? He said, you cut the tooth out.
You went through it twice, but you went through it fast.
One of oregano.
Oh, 1 of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca or tea tree oil, and 4 of lemon.
Drops?
Drops. These just drops. In a tablespoon of fractionated coconut oil. It doesn't taste bad. And you squish it in your mouth for 20 minutes. Now we have Al Garcia. He's got 10 kids. He's got 10 grandkids. So he puts $20 in front of each one of them. He said, if you squish that for 20 minutes, you get the $20. But unless you do it for 20 minutes, you don't get it.
And what did you
So,
call that, fractionated?
Fractionated coconut oil.
What does that mean?
Well, coconut oil is a totally saturated fat. All of its hydrogen arms are full of carbons. So it is totally saturated. It cannot be made rancid. It will take a great amount of great heat and not be rancid, because it doesn't have open arms to receive anything to make it rancid. So coconut oil is kind of a safe oil to cook with, because you can't make it rancid. That's the good part of it. It's not essentially a good oil for you. But now, since all the hydrogen arms are full of carbons, you have to break it up so it can hold something else. So if you put it with another oil as a carrier, you have to fractionate it or break those hydrogen arms open so it can grab those other oils and hold them to be a carrier. Oh, doTERRA. No, the good oil companies will sell it to you. The essential oil companies all sell fractionated coconut oil. It's cheap. Comes in big bottles.
Can you use sesame oil too?
Yes, you can use sesame oil, and you can use coconut oil. You know, yeah, it's okay. Yes.
Tell them to spit it out and not swallow.
Oh yeah, do not swallow that. It is poisonous.
But you do
It's
it for
absolutely
20
poisonous.
minutes? 20 minutes?
20 minutes. Squish it for 20 and hold your head forward so nothing goes down your throat. It's very full of viruses, bacteria, funguses. I mean, really, it's nasty. Yeah.
Okay, back to my question about root canals.
Yes.
You go there, they want to do a root canal, and I've read a lot of different things about that.
Yeah. Well, what a root canal is because infection has come through your gum from your bowel. The other day, this guy, he had melanomas on his face. We put frankincense on there, it killed all the melanomas, they fell out. He's so happy he can't stand it. Frankincense will kill cancer. Can you believe it? Now, but right in here, I could see this a big old thing coming out of his bowel here, heading right for his face. A big black line toward his face. That's where it's coming from. We had to stop it there. It keeps coming. It goes to your jaws. Your jaws are right in here, so your lower jaw. Now what if you have the poisons coming from your small intestine? There is an incredibly small or thin place in your small intestine leaking undigested protein acids in there, like indoles or scatols, very poisonous. They go up through your jaw to get out. They're under your tooth. Your tooth hallucinates. It gets infected. Okay, now you drill through that tooth, you kill the infection, and you put Pergam in there and pack it up. Does that stop the infection? No, it keeps coming. So almost in every case of a root canal, pretty soon they lose the tooth anyway, because the infection keeps coming. So what is it? It's deeper than that. It's in your bowel. That's where you got to go. You see, to clean that up and put charcoal and hydrated bentonite and psyllium hulls in it, keep pulling it back in there so it doesn't leak out, and then heal this bowel wall so it's not so thin, it doesn't leak so much. But usually when you have that happening in a tooth, you lose it. You just lose a tooth. And they have ways of bridging that and everything else. But Hal Huggins, who I respect as the best dentist in the world, he said just take it out. Because you'll spend all that money doing it and then lose the tooth anyway. 80% of them do. And by the way, 80% of those people who lose their gallbladders become diabetic. 80%. Do not let them have your gallbladder. Yeah. So remember, if you have a bad gallbladder, you will see it in the eye at about 7:40 in the right eye. So do something about it. Clean it. We have gallbladder cleanses. So now, if anybody wants to talk to me, I have my card. Give us a call and be patient. We have 4 phones going. And it goes all night. And we let up about 5 o'clock in the morning from calls from Russia, things like that. There's time zones. Then we get 3 hours of sleep. And we hit it again. So just give us a call, and I got my cards out here, so you can give me a buzz. Yes.
How much does it cost for?
Oh, I charge $100 because it's going to take a couple hours at least, and like the lady today, 4.
How long do you keep your records?
I don't keep a record because if I do, they come and arrest you. The record is your eye.
Like 20 or 25
I give everything I write down to you, and you keep that. And you bring it back later, and you'll see the difference.